Alright, what's up, y'all? We're just gonna do it like this, meaning surrounding sounds and all, just as we do it. Blunt, bold, raw, and real in the Image Clothing Company style with the polar bears on the shirt. Today is the 20th of June, 2026. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. In the Image Clothing Company, what are we? Who are we? Why are we? Why is it like this? Blunt, bold, raw, and real, the surrounding sounds. And we do it as we do it. Allowing the body to work is our slogan here under our main side, one of the 4 sides to In the Image Clothing Company. And yeah, what does that mean? Clothing is just the only thing physically placed on our bodies. It's the literal wording of anything physically placed on something else. The way that God clothes the fields with grass, as it says in the Holy Bible. Well, our bodies are designed in the image of God, in the image of Jesus Christ. We're a clothing company because anything that clothes the human being, it could be anything at all. Glasses, hats, pants, tops, shoes, socks, undergarments, jewelry, anything in between. This other shirt that I'm not actually wearing, but I put over my shoulder, I'm essentially clothing my shoulder with the shirt, right? I'm going to wear this button-up shirt part of the way through this video to show what I'm discussing here and explaining, and let's get into this. So, the title of this video, is the shoulders position when hanging from the hands. I'm going to show it here on this tree branch. It just is what it is, right? This isn't the most ideal location, depending on who you ask, but we're going to get this documented as of today's date, the 20th of June, 2026. Clothing, the only thing physically placed on us. There's a lot of imbalances in it. Clothing, at very least, needs to stay centered, fit correct, things like joints of material of clothing meshing with joints of body parts, and in all the ways we can have it be made from 100% natural materials. Natural is the only thing that actually exists. Okay, matter cannot be created or destroyed. Everything that's always been here was created by God. And then he created the human beings to place onto the earth. Unnatural things can only be taken from natural things, okay? So, yeah. Natural. Everything always decomposes back to natural anyway. The body's only natural anyway. Clothing. It gets us into chronic patterning, if it does. There's only one way the human body could ever work. There's no possible opinion to it. It's just determined by the shape and length of the bones, which are what the body is moving. By the musculature pulling on them. Muscles only pull. We've just got opposing muscles on either side of a function pulling on the bones they connect to through tendons. Bones are just the shape and length that they are, connecting directly to each other through ligaments. And there's only one way they mesh. There's only one way they're shaped on the ends. There's only one way the human body could ever work. The human being is just a mechanical machine. Measurable mathematical degrees of hinges, levers, and rotations, determined by the shape and length of our own individual bones. There's nothing else the human being could ever possibly do physically. Yeah, and that's what it is it is a machine of motion. It's supposed to move, that's why we have it. There's only one way it can do that. There's only one way it can do that! Truly, yeah. So we get down to the truth of it here under In the Image Clothing Company. We discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth and just show how the body works. We give a lot of free modifications in clothing because there's a lot of imbalances in clothing in modern 2026 and going forth around this time period, though, yeah. Shipped across the entire earth, we've got clothing imbalances in ways that could never possibly have happened in the past because of our technology. There's a lot going on, right, with clothing. The only thing physically placed on the human body, that's the point, is, well, if you're going to allow your body to work, we're doing everything in and through our life with our clothing. Let me rephrase that. Everything we do in our life, we're doing it in and through our clothing, okay? You don't have to care about fashion, you don't have to care about clothing, you don't have to even care to want to try to care about clothing, but it's physically placed on you all the time that it is, which is basically all the time. For almost everybody who has one and everyone who has a body, right? There's only one way the human body could ever work. A phrase that just keeps getting said by me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. It's the truth. We've got even mathematical opposing bends from bottom to top, okay? Opposing what, though? Earth's vertical gravity pull. This vertical gravity pull meshes with the horizontal surface of the planet Earth, and it's a 90-degree right perpendicular angle. There's a neutral position to the entire body, and 2 sides from there, in everything that moves. Don't believe me? Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. I'll be doing this my entire lifetime, leading this beautiful company. Don't believe any of our information through any of our team members, any of our poodles even. Don't believe us, because truth is truth. Let's get down to the truth together, though, of how the human being has always worked. There's only one way it does. So, why isn't it? You know, we've got these even mathematical opposing bends, the ankles backward, the knees forward, the low back comes after the hips, but the hips go backward, the low back forward, the mid back backward, and the upper back bends forward, which is just the neck, the cervical spine. So these even mathematical opposing bends can be altered by heels on shoes, pant waistlines sitting improperly, top seams of our clothing not sitting where they need to just allow the body to continue to work. The bottom end of our arm, really the other end of the arm from the shoulder, is the fingertips. The fingertips, when we straighten the elbow between the shoulder and hand, well, they do the same thing as the shoulder. Okay, it's all the exact same thing when the body resides in its neutral positions, okay? Anyway, there's only one way the human body could ever work. I couldn't have some kind of opinion on it, so don't believe me. Truth is truth. This is how it works, though, is with Earth's vertical gravity pull. The hand is a pendulum from the shoulder, okay? And when our body's not altered through the entirety of it, the human being just working activated as a whole, meaning everything in there just playing its own individual function it has, so we're not trying to drag around dead weight with parts of the body just not working, which can't actually happen, and have the other parts of the body continue to work normally. You know, within this universal human design, we can have differences, amputations, deformities, birth defects, major surgeries, or anything at all. But there's some examples of some pretty major differences that can come up. There's still only one way the body can mesh with Earth's vertical gravity pull, these universal laws that are outside of all of us, and we need to do what we can. Prosthetic limbs, if and when needed, and things like this, you know, for the right reasons, having things like plastic surgeries done, you know, for mechanical functioning purposes of the human flesh and bone and blood. The human body, okay? But the hand just hangs down at the side from the shoulder, and gravity just pulls our bodies into what you would call good posture. It would have to. The arm gets pulled neutral from front to back, and it gets pulled neutral from side to side with gravity. So it's just determined by the pull of gravity. Where the hand goes in relation to the fingertips, well, that is part of the hand. But where the hand goes in relation to the shoulder. And so what happens is, if we have our hands above our head, and we grab something like a tree branch or a bar, you know, that we've made as human beings, whatever it is, you grab something above your head, though, that's this video's title. I'm going to explain a lot of this anatomically, meaning the anatomy of the human being, but also why it's not happening so properly. A lot of the reasons as to why, showing at least these two shirts as the example, and discussing other things as well through the body when it comes to clothing. It's just in the way if it is. Oversized clothing. Yeah. Imbalances of any kind in clothing. Shoelaces, drawstrings are just ropes that are introduced to the body when we can tie one side over the other and twist the entire body with a knot. Pockets, zippers, buttons, seams, collar seams, rotations in seams in clothing, discrepancies front to back, left and right in design, placed on our bodies all day. Earth's gravity has the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever work just by itself, and then we add clothing to it. There's only one way you can actually wear clothing on your human flesh, okay, on the human body, to not alter the body. It's about the locations of angles of motion, angles of where things sit and positions with the ranges of motion to just not alter the body with something physically in its way, right? And there's a lot to it, so that's why we have this beautiful company here, In The Image Clothing Company, and that's why I'm documenting these permanent pieces of truth, right? We don't get to decide or change truth as human beings. A lot of people will tell you how to get mobility back in your shoulders. Well, there's only the range of motion that's there. Once you're full grown as a human being, your bones don't really ever change. What the body does is move at the bones, joints, okay? Where the bones join together, there's a thin layer of cushioning called cartilage between them. And these bones connect through ligaments, which is just only in the position it is, and the shape and length of the bones are only what they are. And so, you know, the range to the motion, the measurable mathematical degree of motion the body has, it's always there. But you're just trying to get back to it. If you're trying to like stretch your body or do like exercises, mobility routines, whatever you want to do, keep in mind, muscles only pull. Never stretch your body. You're just pulling on muscle fibers. When all they do is pull together, you're damaging them. But there's a lot of context to it. The human body has to work all together. The feet oppose the center line of the body at the base of us, at our foundation, gripping arches inward to keep us vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull. There are two sides to the body. Even opposing activation of musculature stabilizes us in the center. We always pull from two sides of a neutral position, and we stabilize in between the two sides. There's a neutral position to everything in the entire human being. Truth is truth, okay? But heels on shoes, and then everything in between. Damage the body. There's a lot to this, all right? So a lot to what we do under In The Image Clothing Company. But I want to show this visual. I want to give some examples. I want to talk about the top seams of our shoulders, right? The shoulder seams on top of our shoulders. We talk about very clearly where clothing sits for, as we say, every body who has one, or everyone who has a body. Within the universal human design, it doesn't matter what kind of like body proportions you have, how you carry fat content, it's the bones, you know, that move. Muscles just connect to the bones through tendons, and then they just pull the bones to move them. And that's it, right? So when we talk about the top seams of our shoulders, we need seams on top of our shoulders, and they need to sit evenly right behind the peak of the shoulder, okay? The peak of the shoulder is the other end of the collarbone or the clavicle from the center line of the body at the sternum here in the front, right where this polar bear's at on my t-shirt here, okay? We've got a center line to our bodies that meshes with Earth's vertical gravity pull. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, our jaw. The jaw stabilizes the entire body with musculature up to the crown of the head, down to some of the upper ribs, and out to the edge of the shoulder from this lower jaw bone called the mandible. But we also have collars of our tops, okay? Keeping collars centered and the importance of snug collars. Two video titles, two big focuses under In The Image Clothing Company and just in daily life, even if you don't know who we are. Your body only works how it does, okay? Clothing's placed on it, it can't be in the way without it being in the way. So anyway, we get into chronic patterning. The body builds up scar tissue, it builds up bone spurs where the muscles pull on the bone in a position that's not in line if our bodies aren't working properly, and the bones actually grow unnaturally shaped, okay, over years and years and years. So this is what happens, really. This is how we could get something that we could call bad posture, when the bones are always still the same shape and length that they are, and there's always still this even mathematical opposing bend back and forth to the body, meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull. Nothing can actually ever change other than just getting into incorrect working through patterning. So we just get out of chronic patterning. The body works again, as it did when you were a child. You look at the babies and the toddlers, and they've got a lot of natural motion. They've got all their natural motion at first. It just goes away over time through patterning, okay? So you'll never get to your body to do something. You can only get it maybe back to what it should already do, but just hasn't been able to, right? So what I'm saying with this is raising our arms above our head. The video's title here on the 20th of June, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. The shoulders position when hanging from the hands, okay? Well, watch this. Let me do something cool here, okay? What I'm saying is, yeah. When I reach up and hang from this tree branch with my hands, what position should my shoulders be in? Well, the same position they're in when I'm standing You know, and that's the irony of this is if you are trying to stretch your body to get it somewhere, you can't. It's physically impossible. The muscles still connect to the bones in the exact same location that they always have. Unless there is something like a bone spur, I guess, and it's slightly altered. I mean, yes, that's a valid point. But you can't try to continue to work in that state. You have to just have your body be as if it's unaltered. The bones are still the same shape and length that they are. You'll never possibly stretch to anywhere unless you change where the muscles connect to your bones. You've got even opposing sides, you know, front and back, up and down, internal and external rotation. You've always got the exact same body. You'll never stretch it somewhere. You'll never stretch it up above your head. The bones just should move up above your head. But why isn't it happening if it's not? Well, we talk about under In the Image Clothing Company how the shoulders always, only, and ever work behind the head. It's where they connect. The musculature that actually raises the shoulder, the upper trapezius, there's a middle, an upper, and a lower trapezius muscle. Muscles on the back. On the shoulder blades, those big bones on our upper backs that connect our shoulders to our spine. There's a middle trapezius muscle that pulls the shoulders straight back, an upper trapezius that pulls the shoulders upward and back, and a lower trapezius that pulls the shoulders down and back. There's a neutral position to the entire body. So yeah, the shoulders only ever work behind the head. That's just how they work. If you're going to lift your shoulders up with this upper trapezius muscle that connects along the top of your shoulder blade back there, the shoulder blade called scapula, to the neck, the cervical spine, right at the very rear of the body, and then to the base of the skull, just right off of the spine, it's just going to do all the muscles could ever possibly do and pull directly in line. And it connects to the very back of your skull. The shoulders only ever could possibly work behind the head. Now, not only that, when your hands hang down with Earth's vertical gravity pull from the other end of your shoulders, vertical at the arms with the hands straight down is with the shoulders behind the head. Otherwise, we'd fall forward with gravity, because our arms would be in front of our feet supporting us. Anyway, well, yeah, just outside of that center of gravity front to back with these even opposing bends in the body front to back. And Earth's gravity right in between that, front to back. So what I'm saying is, the shoulders always work behind the head, but you know what's got the same effect on it from gravity as our bodies does? Our clothing, okay, our tops. So, top seams, as we say when we discuss very clearly where clothing sits under In the Image Clothing Company, to not alter the body, no kind of opinion or fashion behind it. It's mechanics, right? The shoulder seams sit evenly right behind the very peak of the shoulders. Okay. Yeah, because... Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, here's a big point. Yeah, I mean, this logo on the shirt here, this is just a shirt that I bought from a convenience store. Okay. But there's this heat shrunk logoing on the front of this top. This is what I'm saying. This is what we do under In the Image Clothing Company. Discuss things like this. This will allow less motion in the front of the shirt than in the rear. And so the seams of the top part of our shoulders will try to fall forward because there's just not as much motion in the material here with the stiffness of this heat shrunk on polar bear image. Truly. So the shoulder seams will have a harder time sitting behind the peak of the shoulders because of that, okay? But gravity is just going to want to pull our shoulders straight down, and we want to oppose Earth's gravity with our whole body's musculature to pull us upward. The shoulders only connect behind the head. Right? So what we need to have happen is the top seams of our shoulders need to sit just right behind the peak of the shoulders, because that's where the top of the shoulder blade is, and that's the muscle that's connecting to the base of the skull, is the upper trapezius. connects across the top of the shoulder blade, and so, or the scapula, right? Two names for the same bone back there on the upper part of the shoulders. Anyway, if the top seam of the tops that we're wearing, top item of clothing, is sitting just right there on top of that shoulder blade, that's the insertion or the connection, the tendon from the upper trapezius down to the shoulder blade. So now with gravity having the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies, as our shoulders are just pulling straight up and down, let me step away from the camera far enough to where you can see my arms just hanging straight down with Earth's gravity. The top end's the shoulder and the bottom ends are my fingertips, and it just goes straight up and down. Watch this. There's only, and there just is, a neutral position. There's only one neutral position to everything in the entire body. There's only one neutral to the shoulders, front and back and up and down and internal or external rotation. There's only one neutral to the entire human being. That's how we keep it there with the tops of our clothing, not altering that neutral position. Okay, so the edges of our tops sit as close as we can get right to the very edge of our shoulders, and the top seams, as I've said already in this video, sit right behind the peak of the shoulders. And so we've got now this collarbone, like I'm saying, just pivoting around. Okay, the collarbone or the clavicle, it connects from the other two bones of the shoulder, the upper arm bone called the humerus, and then the scapula or the shoulder blade, as I've been discussing in this video. These three bones come together to become the shoulder. Collarbone called clavicle, upper arm bone called humerus, and then scapula called shoulder blade. Now right here at the edge of this joint of the shoulder, where the ends of these three bones come and mesh, the collarbone on the front of the chest is just pivoting around. This clavicle or collarbone, one end of it's these other two bones of the shoulder, and then this other end on the center line of the body is the top of the sternum in the center of the chest. So the collarbone doesn't have any accommodation anywhere, like from a muscle connecting it to a bone on one end or the other. It's directly to bone on both ends of it. It just pivots around. It just goes where it can, determined by where the rest of the arm is going. But on the back, those shoulder blades or scapulas, they're connected to the spine through musculature, these trapezius muscles. And so there's a lot of accommodation that can happen there. And what can happen is the shoulders can be pulled backward and have all this independent motion back there by the scapulas, and that can't quite happen on the front of the body the same. The collarbone doesn't have its own independent motion. It's just pivoting bone to bone. So the shoulders sit behind the head. What I'm saying is, this whole video is just getting me to me hanging on a bar, or a tree branch in this case, is the video's title. The shoulders position when hanging from the hands, well, it's the same as the shoulders position when standing with our arms down at our sides. And that's what's ironic about it, is you just hang your arms down at your side and gravity just pulls your arms straight down. The pendulum of the hand is the other end of the shoulder. Now we take this and we just swing it up above our head and nothing moves except we're just pivoting at the upper end of the upper arm bone called the humerus in the shoulder capsule. Watch this. I'm not joking about the simplicity of this. If we just never alter the body, God designed the body to work. If you're trying to get the natural, only, full range of motion to reach all the way above your head, it's always been there your entire life. It's just restricted. You need to just allow it to be there again. Okay, watch this. Arms hanging at the side. My shoulders are in the exact same position as if I just swing my whole arm up and around and grab the tree branch. Just in daily life, your shoulders just stay in their neutral position like this, front to back, up and down, and we could say rotation-wise, you know, internal rotation versus external rotation. But no matter what, just in life, we reside in our neutral position, and this is where gravity pulls you to. If your body's not altered throughout the rest of it, from the tip of the head down to the tips of the fingers, you know, down to the tips of the toes and all throughout, what you'll be able to do from this position is what I was just showing. I'll show it again. Let me just wait for the sound of this real quick. The motor of this vehicle, okay? Because this is as real as it is. You'll never possibly train to a neutral position. It's impossible. You rest. Gravity rests you in a neutral position. And there's two sides from there. You'll never possibly train your body, stretch your body, work your body out to a neutral position that gravity pulls you to. So from this neutral position, just the entire body unaltered, just standing, sleeping, living in any aspect of life, yeah, waking or sleeping life, your shoulders always rest in their neutral position. And then to get to a bar or a tree branch or something above our head, we just pivot the arm in an arc in its measurable mathematical degrees of hinging, in this case, right? Hinges, levers, and rotations, that's all the human being is, determined by the shape and length of the bones that don't change once we're full grown. We just swing this arc of the arm with the lever of the whole arm off the hinge of the shoulder capsule, and we reach up above our heads. It's the exact same position as standing. To hold something above your head like a tree branch. If the body's unaltered, designed by God to work, out of all the chronic patterning that could get built up along the way through our life. Watch this. You couldn't make it up. It's just what it is. It's measurable mathematics. It's physics. It's truth. Watch this. Can't quite reach the tree branch, but yeah. This is just normal, neutral, natural, daily life shoulder position. If your body's working, activated as a whole, the only way it can actually work, because it's all there. It's all got its own function. It's all got to pull its own weight, play its own role. We just reach. And nothing changes. You know, a lot of people, they'll be trying to get somewhere with their arms. Well, it's because other parts of your body are restricted and your arms are trying to compensate for other parts of your body not working. It has nothing to do with your arms, really, seen with context. But yeah, standing here versus just reaching up to the bar or the tree branch, but I have to kind of jump a little bit. But this position, my arms up here, they're in the same position as if I just drop back down and then drop my arms back down. But if you're in what you would call bad posture, and you're standing in daily life just in a position of your shoulders that's different than the only way the muscles pull, which is directly in line, but your shoulders are in front of your head, but your muscles pull up from where their neutral is, you know, with Earth's vertical gravity pull, your muscles, like your upper trapezius muscle that lifts your shoulder up, it can't pull straight up with Earth's vertical gravity pull to where it's connected at the base of the rear of your skull. If your shoulders are in front of your head, the muscle's trying to pull up and back, and it can't do that because gravity is vertical. The shoulders only ever could possibly work behind the head, but they'll never stay there. If you've got heels on your shoes, an elevated heel, even just the slightest, on a man-made shoe, under your God-made feet, that neutral from dorsiflexion or plantar flexion, lifting the toes or pointing the toes, it's the same as the horizontal surface of the earth. Zero drop, the term in any brand of shoe, just flat on the bottom. Otherwise, your feet won't work. If your feet don't work, your shoulders don't work either. Whole body's connected. It's a kinetic chain. It's all a link of bones, you know. Every bone's connected to the bone next to it, and the whole body's one thing. So if we have heels on our shoes, it lifts our feet up at the heel, plantar flexes or points our toes, points our whole feet though, the lever of the foot off the hinge of the ankle, and pushes our body forward. It's just a wedge under our heels. So it pushes your shoulders forward, okay? But your shoulders still only connect to the only location they connect to, the base of your skull, at the very rear of your body. The shoulders still could only ever possibly work behind the head because they mesh with Earth's vertical gravity pull. Straight up and down because they mesh with the fingertips at the very bottom of the arm if the top of the arm's the shoulder. It's gravity, it's truth, it's physics, it's mathematics. It's always been the exact same and always will be. Just like God, the one that we are designed in the image of, all right? God doesn't change. Also being called the truth, the same. Yesterday, today, and forever. Is anything that is true? It always will be. So anyway, you can never train your shoulders. It's impossible. Unless you change your bones or change where your muscles connect to them, which you're not going to do without damaging your body permanently, altering its only functioning. Right? You'd have to do some kind of surgical procedure. No, what I'm saying is no matter how much time you spend in the gym, like rolling out muscles in your shoulder area, stretching muscles in your shoulder area, you've always got even opposing sides, front to back, in or out, up or down. There's always a neutral. There's always only one way the human being could ever possibly function. There's no kind of opinion to that could ever possibly matter. That's how I can say don't believe me, because it's the truth. Even if I wasn't saying it, spoken or unspoken, truth is always truth. The truth is, if your shoulder seams are just in the way of this top bone, meaning the other end of your collarbone or clavicle from the center line of your body, out here at the edge of your shoulder, and it can't just move, if it can't just move because there's a seam in its way, you'll never get your arm above your head, normally. You'll be trying to stretch your body when it's not your body's fault. You can do whatever you want to your body every day of your life for the rest of it, to try to get it to do something you think it should just already do. But if you've got something physically placed on your body, it's physically in the way. Clothing, what is it? The literal word of anything physically placed on the body. In the Image Clothing Company, what do? Well, we allow the body to work. We're only a clothing company for the sake of the human body's functioning. I couldn't claim it. There's only one way this happens, okay? It's determined by the shape and length of the bones. So anyway, yeah, you're just going to reach above your head easily, because the human being's supposed to be able to. And we've got our own individualistic situations, but if you just feel like over time you've just kind of had your body feel like it doesn't work anymore and you can't seem to get to the bottom of what's happening, well, we discuss everything in life. And no kind of sales pitch, but what's the truth of what's going on? Something happened. What was it? Your body was working. Why isn't it? Anyone can try to get your body to do anything, but how about just get it back to how it was working well before, right? It's designed by God to work. So we discuss eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, everything we do as a human being under In the Image Clothing Company. But as I said earlier, it's the truth. There's no way around it. You can't neglect this, and you just don't even know to know if you don't. Right? Clothing, it's just always placed on you if and where it is. Everything you ever do in your life, you're doing it in and through your clothing first. You have to address your clothing first. And again, it's just the literal wording. You're just clothing your body with something that might not be allowing it to have its normal motion, and almost certainly isn't in almost every modern clothing design out there. That's why we give so many free modifications in clothing. You don't have to buy In the Image Clothing Company clothing to allow your body to work. We'll always have good clothing that'll do that once we start selling it. You know, as of today's date, the 20th of June, we don't yet, 2026. But that's, I mean, yeah, that's something we'll always have. But, you know, I mean, things like modifying things in collars, you know, collar seams, In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, In the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification. These are a couple things that are in tops specifically, you know. But things clear from your feet and clear from your hands up into your shoulders can alter your body. And, you know, it's not like clothing is some kind of miracle fix. It's just that if we never physically placed anything on our bodies, there'd be nothing physically placed on our bodies that could possibly alter them. But we can alter our bodies in any kind of way you could possibly alter your body's workings. And so we have to approach everything in life properly just to keep the mechanics of our human being working the only way it does. So there's a lot of context we give under In the Image Clothing Company, but regardless of what you do for your body, you know, apart from clothing, you're always still wearing clothing if you are. It's things like gravity, you know, it's things like joints of material of clothing meshing with joints of body parts. It's things like stretch and modern clothing material that didn't even exist decades ago, only from today's date, you know, 2026, but yeah, today's the 20th of June. Stretch goes the opposite direction of the only way the muscles work. It's an electrical system sent from the brain, telling it to fire the muscle fibers, the nervous system. The muscles get closer together only to activate. The other end is just deactivation, and we can't oppose Earth's vertical gravity pull, and we just fall to the ground. It's always going to be the exact same. It always has been. It's just what it is, man. It's physics. It's truth. It's God's design of the human being, the body that grows by itself. We have no say over how to reach above our heads. And this video's title on the 20th of June 2026 under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here, the shoulder's position when hanging from the hands. Well, the explanation here is, what's the normal workings to that? Well, it's the same as everything else in your life, although all the way above your head. I mean, you're just rotating, you know, pivoting around a neutral. Like, I could take my finger here and move my shoulder all around this centered pivot point, and we just pivot our arms up and around. And they're above our heads. But people will try to start from, again, what you could call bad posture, and then, like, get up and back and try to get here. You know, just meaning it's patterning, you know. I mean, you can't really make fun of people for it. I know sometimes I sound like I am, and sometimes I just flat out making fun of certain things. I get it. I don't mean to be doing it in a mean way, but I'm just saying there's a lot of false information out there. And no matter what, you know, like, let's say you're just trying to get to this position, but every day of your life you've got shoulder seams on top of your shoulders that are in front of your shoulders. It's just physically in your way. It'll never happen. It's physically impossible for it to happen. It's just the natural motion of your body to be there. If there's something just physically in the way of your natural physical motion to your physical body, it's just truth. I mean, there's no possible opinion to it or way around it either. That's the big point. You don't have to care about it, but you have to be intentional about your clothing. Whoever you are, it doesn't matter. You know, as I say, man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. If I sound like a rapper, it's because I am one. Seriously. It's just that I get it. It's funny. Clothing sits in the same location on this universal human design, you know. The bones. It's how the bones connect. That's how the body moves, is where the bones connect. At the joints, where the bones join together. They only do it how they do, and nothing else, ever. It's only what it is. Bones are immovable by themselves. They just connect to each other and move where they join. You've got the whole lever of the arm off the hinge of the shoulder. You've got the lever of the hand off the hinge of the wrist. You've got the lever of the foot off the hinge of the ankle, the hinge of the hips, and then essentially a lever up and below that. And the whole body. You know, we could talk about it in all the ways, and wherever we do, and we do, under In the Image Clothing Company, we discuss the anatomy of the human body, like I've done in this video, and in such depth you couldn't possibly dispute it. That's what I'm saying. You've got a lot of people that have all these opinions on what you could try to do to maybe get your body to work better if you keep up with it. God designed the body to work. It does, unless or until altered. That's it. Don't believe me. But, you know, I can tell you how your body works, and I can be right about it and never meet you. You know, we live in a right-handed world. 85%, maybe 90% even, of human beings are right-handed. They use their right hands for most everything in life. That's only one side of the body. There's a center line to that, you know, the body, with two sides from there. and Earth's vertical gravity pull meshes with the center line of our bodies. So we've got to stay centered, and this happens in all the ways, but it first happens by addressing what's physically placed on your body. There's no opinion to it. But yeah, I mean, if you're in a discrepancy left to right in the body, and then you try to reach your arms above your head, it'll never happen properly. You know, so this is just as much forward and back as it is left and right rotations. You know, like internal rotation on one side of the body and external rotation on the other. And we're going to be more externally rotated on the right side of the body in a right-handed patterning. And there's just so much going into the anatomy of all of this, but it wouldn't. I mean, the body is designed by God to work. There wouldn't be all these problems if there wasn't universal clothing designs that are imbalanced, shipped across the entire earth in modern day, and everything else too. You know, all of our technology that doesn't work for our bodies the way our bodies work, slippery flat flooring when our feet need to grip the ground with those gripped textured arches, just like the hands are only round, and we've got a lot of flat things in the world, you know, different length fingers wrapping around a different length opposable thumb with an entirely different function. So much of the shoulders comes from the hands, and that's you know, the intentional titling of In the Image Clothing Company's videos. The shoulders position when hanging from the hands. It's not just like the shoulders position when your arms are above your head. Well, it's the hands positioning that determines what the shoulders do, or it's the shoulders positioning that determines what the hands do. And it's all just yeah, see, I mean, it's all one thing. The whole arm, when we straighten the elbow between the hand and shoulder, just like the whole leg when we straighten the knee between the foot and the hip, it all does the same thing. Rotation wise, internal versus external rotation, and just anywhere the hand goes, the shoulder goes. Anywhere the foot goes, the hip goes. When the whole arm or leg are straightened, you know, that's what I'm saying. We just pivot around the shoulder. There's nothing to train to, nothing to get to, no form to have. You just stand there. You lift your arm up. It's that simple. No kind of perfect world kind of thing, no sales pitch. It's physics. The body's got to work all together because you have to stabilize your shoulders by everything from your feet up and from your tip of your head down in, from your fingertips into your shoulder. The whole body's got to be stabilizing. And every single breath we take, the entire body stabilizes to some degree. Because, I mean, look at all the motion just when we breathe alone. Okay, the whole body's got to stabilize for this to happen while we still stand up, or we still walk, or we still, you know, speak. The jaw stabilizing the entire body. It's eating, speaking, standing, and, well, I mean, sure, standing, but breathing, and then stabilization of the entire body. I know I said that twice or multiple times, but the jaw is playing all these functions in the body, and the jaw connects directly to the shoulder, like directly to the shoulder. And it goes through the collars of our potentially very imbalanced tops. Okay. We're a clothing company. Why? Well, because we've got a slogan that explains it. Or, well, I guess, why is what our slogan explains: allowing the body to work. Okay, In the Image Clothing Company's main site slogan, one of our fourths, right? Where you are here, there you go. That's the shoulders position when hanging from the hands. It's that the hands are hanging from the shoulders when we stand. We could say the hands position when they hang from the shoulders, which they do when we stand. It's the same as the other end. If we just go all the way from the hands at the bottom and the shoulder at the top to just pivoting around the shoulder and having the hand at the top and the shoulder at the bottom, nothing through the whole body should move, but we're just pivoting around the shoulder. I'm going to put this button up on. I threw it over the branch. I didn't want to just pull it off to, you know, get it down and just, you know, drag the material across the tree branch is why I was saying that. It's kind of funny. I just casually threw it over the branch at the beginning of this video. So here's a button-up shirt. Okay. I'm showing this because it's got a lot different way of sitting on the shoulders. Meaning there's this band of material in button-up shirts like this that is essentially the top seams of the shoulders, right? It's got this whole band from back here on the back, the upper back, up and over to here. This is all just one band across the whole top slash rear of the shoulders of material, rather than on the t-shirt design. Well, this type of t-shirt design or this type of button-up design, right? But this is extremely common around this time, 2026, you know. Today's the 20th of June. This is in the Image Clothing Company's main side. The shoulder's position when hanging from the hands is this video's title, right? But having just a single seam sitting just right behind the peak of the shoulder, okay, just right behind the end of the collarbone here, called clavicle, collarbone or clavicle, collarbone or clavicle. Anyway, that's the same thing as having this band of material in this kind of button-up design just sitting like behind the peak of the shoulder, you know. It's just what it is, meaning it's just a location, meaning it's just gravity, meaning it's truly just gravity. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. It's physics, man. It's things that are outside of all of us. It's no possible opinion, and there's no possible way you can just choose to not care about it either. I mean, clothing in general, you know, you don't have to really care about the clothing. You have to be intentional on how it's placed onto your human flesh. You have to. There's no possible way around it. Without just not wearing clothing, that's a possible way around it. But then you're not even addressing clothing because you don't even wear clothing, and then that is you addressing clothing because you just choose to not wear it at that point, actually. So yes, you have to address your clothing, or your body is potentially extremely altered. But anyway, yeah, so same thing in a button-up shirt, right? That's why it sits behind the peak of the shoulders, because it's the same thing. It's going to allow you to just lift your arms above your head and just pivot on the shoulder. Nothing moves in the whole body, but we just pivot around the shoulder hinge with the lever of the entire arm. From our normal neutral standing position up. Okay, and then yeah, I mean, nothing changes in the entire body. I just got to get to where I can get on this tree, but this position here, hanging from my hands, my shoulder's position is the exact same as if I drop back down to the ground and just pivot around the hinge of my shoulder with the lever of my entire arm. The shoulders only ever work behind the head anyway. It's physics. There's only one way the human body could ever work. I'm going back to the polar bear shirt. I don't have an opinion on this stuff, by the way. That's why I love this, you know, it's permanent documentations of truth. I mean, I can be wrong, but, you know, when we get down to it, you can actually literally physically measure it. You know, just the degrees of motion in the body. So anyway, yeah, when you wear a button-up shirt, just make sure you fold the collar all the way back. It's just so it's not sitting against your neck. When you push your shoulders forward, that's where those upper trapezius muscles are that lift your shoulders. And that's yeah, I mean, it's directly against your upper trapezius muscles. You know, removing all tags from clothing. A must. Tags, labeling in clothing, it only started to happen just tens of years ago from today's date, the 20th of June, 2026. So under In the Image Clothing Company, yeah, we discuss removing all tags from clothing, labeling, anything physically protruding, sticking out from the inside of clothing. It's a physical gap between your clothing item and your own body's skin. The epidermis, it's an organ, actually. You can't alter the skin of the body or it alters the whole body. It's the same skin that covers the entire thing. There's so much to this, you know, we really know what we're talking about here under In the Image Clothing Company. I just say it because it's the case, because if you're curious, dive into it. Like I say, if you've got a problem with us, stick around. You know, deeper context brings deeper understandings. I'll be doing this the rest of my entire life. I've been doing it for 1.5 years plus as of today's date, you know. 23rd of September 2024 was In the Image Clothing Company's founding date, you know. I've been doing it for a while. I really know what I'm saying with this stuff. It's not about me, but This helps literally the literal wording of everybody who has one, which is every human being. Okay, everyone who has a body. Anyway, thank you. So yeah, tags, you know, that could be in the way, changing your shoulders position. Well, here's the thing though, I mean, shoelaces. In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique, it's just the only way the top of the feet bones are shaped. We're weaving a rope across the top of the feet. There's only one way you can weave a rope in a pattern that's just going to snug up against the top of the feet, the only way the feet are shaped. Even opposing feet from the center line of the body, there's two, you know, one on either side, unless you don't have to, but we got to do what we can with that, you know. Earth's gravity, it's always vertical with its pull down on us. So anyway, thank you. Anyway, just thank you. Yeah, I mean, the pant waistline, you know, you got your pant waistline altering your hips. The hips are the bottom end of your spine, but the top end of your spine is the base of your skull, which happens to be where the muscle connects to on the top end that comes down and connects to your shoulders on the bottom end that raises and lowers your shoulders. That's going to get your shoulders above your head to grab a tree branch or a bar or something like that above you with your hands. So, pant waistlines, you know, I'm not going to talk about the whole body where clothing sits in this video. We discussed it very clearly, posted free in public, always under In The Image Clothing Company's 5-word company name, no spaces between the 5-word. Find it where you find it. Permanent gratitude to God, truly, to Jesus Christ, for videos like this. I mean, this is what makes us credible. The longevity of us saying the same things. You know, I've done so many documentations. We're up over 600 videos on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company alone as of today's date, the 20th of June, 2026. And why I say that is not to boast or brag, but to show that we're really here for the long haul. I'm in this, you know, for the rest of my life. I'm going to be doing this as the founder but leader of In The Image Clothing Company. And every single video I make like this is just another brick, if you will, in the building of In The Image Clothing Company as a whole. So In The Image Clothing Company podcast, one of our 4s, we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're on episode 206 as of today's date, the 20th of June, 2026. But there's an episode titled Laying a Foundation. It was episode 100. And that's what I was saying, you know, every single little tiny thing we do under the 5-word company name of In The Image Clothing Company is just another brick in the building of the company as a whole, just always expanding and going forth as and where it does, you know, even after I die, if, you know, someone takes over. But why I'm saying that is just because, yeah, it's videos like this that I'm just explaining stuff that you can measure yourself. You can take a measuring tape, you know, no matter where you are on the planet Earth, and just measure the degrees of ranges of motion in your body. You know, and when it comes to patterning, you can measure things like the discrepancies in the width of your hands or the width of your feet, or, you know, the height of your shoulders left and right, and the rotations in your body that are allowed to be there or restricted through patterning, you know. And it just, there's no opinion to what we're doing here under In The Image Clothing Company, because we don't have a sales pitch. We'll sell things that are just good because we know what the body physically needs to be having placed on it to not alter it. And whatever else we branch out into product-wise, you know. We've also got In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, another one of our 4s. We specialize in the large or standard size purebred poodle, but we give information that applies to all dogs. And our slogan over there with letting dogs stay natural is the same thing here on In The Image Clothing Company's main side as allowing the body to work for human beings. So it's the same thing, right? Dog products we'll always have available when we do. We'll breed purebred standard poodles and things like this going forth as well. In The Image Clothing Company Music, another one of our 4s, we show the sizing and setup of guitar to not alter the body, rhythm and poetry, spoken word, lyricism, singing, guitar playing, music geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages. A lot of things like this happen over on In The Image Clothing Company Music. You know, a lot of series, beautiful things happen over there if I were to be saying it, and I just did, so yeah. What else can we say in this video? Thank you, because truth is truth, you know. I know that people go to school for longer than other people are even alive. To to learn how to get the body to do something, but that's physically impossible to do unless you changed things like the shape and length of the bones, and that would require a surgical procedure. No exercise will ever change how your body works. No exercise will ever gain range of motion that just has always been there and will always remain, just might be limited through patterning as far as the access to it. But again, things physically in the way, you'll never move your body anywhere that the thing that's physically in the way is not allowing it to move to. I mean, it's literal, as in like the mathematical term of physics. You know, there's no opinion to the body when you mathematically measure its motion. We get it. We truly get it here under In the Image Clothing Company. Don't believe me. Don't believe me. But the only way this will ever happen is if you allow it to. And a big point to hit is I haven't done a single stretch or like exercise for the sake of exercise or like workout routine or mobility work in a year and a half to 2 years at least, just to show the truth of this. Well, and I could be saying whatever, but that's why I say it as I do. Don't believe us. Find this out on your own. Start to really dive into what we're doing under In the Image Clothing Company, and you'll see that, you know, you can't dispute it. I mean, if we're speaking things that are true, truth is apart from all of us. We can't decide it or change it. And what is changing all the time is stretching, mobility, workout routines. The thing is, if you're in stretchy clothing all the time, your muscles are just tensing up. Stretch is pulling away and your muscles are trying to pull together to stabilize. The body just stabilizes by musculature activating and contracting, getting closer together. So you're spending most or all of your life just about in stretchy clothing that didn't even exist just tens of years ago from today's date, the 20th of June, 2026. You might be trying to stretch your body every day, go to sleep in stretchy clothing. Well, maybe you're stretching your body in stretchy clothing too. You're never going to get anywhere. It's impossible. You couldn't go anywhere unless you dislocate something, rupture a tendon, or separate bones of the ligaments, break a bone, or pull a muscle, actually tear something. There's no other way you could possibly gain any more range of motion that's just than is just already there in your body. No possible claim it's truth. It's God's choice. The heart beats by itself, the lungs breathe by themselves, the eyes blink by themselves. The body just grew to be what it is. It only does what it does. No workouts, stretching routines, mobility, anything whatsoever is going to ever possibly get you to naturally have the range of motion that's just there in your body to reach up above your head. So the focus is the video's title here on the 20th of June 2026 under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. The shoulder's position when hanging from the hands. The body always resides in its neutral positions. In the jaw, in the shoulders, well, in the hips and the knees and the ankles and the elbows and the wrists. Everything, though, you know, the natural curve in the spine, the natural bend in the knee, those are 2 video titles under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here. There's always a neutral position, otherwise you can't move. You know, you have to start somewhere. You can move to one side from there, or you can move to the other side, but there's always a neutral. And so the answer on how to reach above your head fully is keep your shoulders in the neutral position that's there, that there's no possible dispute to. I mean, measurably, mathematically, there's just a neutral position to the entire body and all of its functioning. We've got a lot of very deep, thorough, explained videos about that under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here. That's what we do. We allow the body to work, and we discuss things in such depth you couldn't possibly dispute it. But that's how you do it. That's how you get your hands above your head. To reach up to something like a tree branch is by your shoulders positioning being neutral. How do you keep your shoulders positioned neutral? Well, keep your hands unaltered, or get out of patterning in your hands that's been created throughout your life. And then all the way down to your feet. Hips, knees, feet. There's a lot in the feet, there's a lot in the hands. Half the body's bones are in the hands and feet. A little over half the body's bones. Okay? So a lot of patterning gets created. Incorrect shoelacing. years and years and years and years, you know, but even months or whatever, you know, just a shorter amount of time than that, your shoulders will never have their natural motion. If your feet can't first support your body for your shoulders to do their own thing, your feet have to work first. You know, yeah. I could reference so many videos under In the Image Clothing Company right now to explain a lot of this. And I could just explain a lot of this throughout the entire body before we could even ever start to discuss the shoulders. Where do they come from? The feet, then up to the hips, then into the spine, then out to the shoulder. But then shoulder is just as much the hand as the shoulder. And the jaw is the shoulder, which is a video's title under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here. It's all gotta be addressed. It's all working together, or it's not working very well. The entire body's there, it's all gotta do its thing before you could ever think about raising your arms above your head to just try to reach naturally to a tree branch, for example, or a bar above your head. But there's a lot of context to it. Some of the biggest things, the most direct things, are what we've talked about in this video about the top specifically, top items of clothing. I'm here, man. I could die tomorrow or whatever, bro, but maybe I live another like 80 years. I'm just going to be the leader, as I am the founder of In the Image Clothing Company for the rest of my life, just meaning our understandings and our explanations of our understandings, and as our team builds, you know, we'll build and grow and deepen. We'll have a beautiful team, God-fearing, nature-loving, poodle-loving human beings here in the state of Utah, the United States of America. We do a lot for the environment. We do a lot in nature. We live up Utah, as we say, right? So a lot of things to come. Thank you. That was such a dramatic outro, and it didn't stop yet. Thank you.